Despite being 47 years old, this man still carries the dream of earning a college degree. To work toward that goal, he hires a private tutor to teach him at home. However, he shows absolutely no natural talent for studying, which slowly drives the teacher to his breaking point. The teacher constantly scolds him and even urges him to abandon the idea entirely. Just as the teacher is on the verge of walking out for good, he witnesses a group of men dressed in black bowing respectfully to his student. It turns out this seemingly ordinary middle-aged man struggling with his studies is actually Duke Po, the second most powerful figure in the fearsome Chilsung gang. He calmly orders his men to escort the teacher home safely, then turns his attention to dealing with a traitor hiding within the gang. Things take an unexpected turn when the traitor grabs the teacher and uses him as a hostage. Duke Paul steps forward, orders the man to release the innocent teacher, and agrees to settle things in a one-on-one duel. The instant Duke Paul reaches for the dagger, the terrified teacher collapses from shock right on the spot. In the end, Duke Paul brings the fight to a swift close with a single devastating punch. Afterward, he stands outside the emergency room, quietly instructing his men to ensure the teacher receives proper care. While waiting alone in the hallway, he pulls out a study card and silently reviews basic English vocabulary, still preparing for the upcoming college entrance exam. That same night, Duke Paul sits down with the gang leader, Mr. Seo. Seo reveals that he plans to step down and retire, and he urges Duke Paul to abandon his studies and take over leadership of the entire organization. Torn between his sense of duty and his personal dream, Duke Paul gets into his car and drives alone into the night to sort through his thoughts. During that drive, he spots a teenage boy standing on the railing of a pedestrian overpass, shaking from head to toe. Duke Paul instantly grasps what is about to happen and races forward without hesitation to stop him. At the most critical second, a large truck comes barreling toward them. The driver swerves sharply at the last moment and barely avoids hitting them. As Duke Paul pushes himself up to check on the boy, another vehicle suddenly slams directly into him. He regains consciousness inside the hospital. He staggers to the nearest mirror and is met with the reflection of the very boy he saved staring back at him. He tells himself it must be a dream, but then furious voices erupt from outside the door. Duke Paul steps out and greets his men with a casual hello, but one of them, Kim, drives a hard punch straight into his face. The sharp pain forces the truth on him. This is absolutely real. Another subordinate, Han, shouts in grief that their boss has passed away, then angrily blames the boy for getting his boss killed while trying to save an ungrateful stranger. They drag Duke Paul to the funeral and force him to kneel and apologize. Seething with frustration, Duke Paul shouts that they have no reason to hold a funeral for him because he is still very much alive and standing right in front of them. Han condemns him for disrespecting the dead and threatens to bury him alive, but Mr. Seo steps in and puts a stop to it. Duke Paul rushes to the morgue in desperation, trying everything he can think of to return to his original body, but every attempt ends in failure. A doctor tells him that no one can return from death unless time itself were to reverse. Those words spark something in Duke Paul's mind. He returns to the pedestrian overpass and tries to recreate the exact circumstances of that night. But when he next opens his eyes, 3 full days have passed and his leg is now broken. He drags himself to the cemetery only to discover that his body has already been cremated and reduced to ashes. He lets out a long, heavy sigh, completely adrift with no clear path forward. What troubles him even more is that the boy's spirit is nowhere to be found. He begins to worry that the boy is unable to return because of what happened between them. Just then, a short-haired woman strides into the hospital room. Duke Paul assumes she must be the boy's mother and greets her politely, but she snaps at him with cold disdain. She demands to know why he keeps causing problems, suggesting that his mother put him up to it just to grab the chairman's attention. She sighs and says she is completely worn out from protecting both him and his mother, then leaves in a rush. Duke Paul stands there confused and increasingly unsettled, beginning to sense that this boy's life is far more tangled and painful than he first imagined. Determined to understand the full picture, he picks up the boy's tablet and reads through his personal diary. What he finds shocks and infuriates him. He learns how deeply the boy despises school and how he once reached a point where he simply wished he could vanish from the world entirely. The boy's name is Ahan, and he is a victim of relentless school bullying. A group of delinquents forces him to steal for them and even use him as a living target during archery practice. Every single day feels like suffering through a nightmare with no end. That misery continues until Ahan meets a boy named Sekong in his new class. Ahan longs to be close to him, but the bullies spread vicious rumors that he is a stalker, and as a result, every student starts pulling away from him. After finishing the diary, Duke Paul slams the tablet down in a fury. He makes a firm and silent promise to go back to that school, put an end to the bullying once and for all, and make sure that when Ahan eventually returns, he will have an actual life worth living.